Slay.
Merhaba Zeynep Hanım, nasılsınız?
Merhaba hocam. Okay.
Welcome. Welcome, Nuran. How are you?
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Thank you for your time. We will make sure that your presentation is uploaded after I do the little introduction about yourself.
Okay, sure.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, Nuran.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. I have your CV in front of me, so I'll start with that, inshallah. Nuran. Very, very impressive, mashallah.
Thank you.
We are also live on YouTube. So if you have any colleagues, friends that you want to tell, you're welcome to do so.
Merhaba, could you guys hear me?
Yes.
Welcome, Berenice. How are you? Thanks for joining.
Yes, fine. I'm excited. Thank you for the
How are you
invite.
today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good.
We really appreciate yours so early, and we really appreciate your valuable time. So you will be next after Nuran, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, shukran. Thank you for the invite. I'm just trying to fix my camera.
No problem.
Yeah. I woke up because I needed to feed my baby, and then I realized that it was... So it's like...
It's better to do it
Okay.
and then probably sleep for you.
Yeah. So I'm used
Yeah,
to...
I lived 14 years in the United States. I was in Houston, Kansas, St. Louis, New Jersey. So I'm, the timing is the biggest issue. I was in
I know.
California, and we had a challenge connecting with Paris. When we finished the day, they were starting, in Paris. So it's always
Yeah.
a challenge.
So I have coffee. That will help.
That's good. That's excellent.
So how are you guys? I heard there was an earthquake
Yeah.
in Turkey.
Yes, it's really tough in Izmir. Lots of people passed away. It's a very high level of earthquake, and it's really tough time for us. But it could have been worse. Even though we have many people passed away, it could have been worse,
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear that. I
I lived in Turkey in 2010 for 3 months. I was, ¿cómo se llama? Smith. Yeah, toothbrush, the petrochemical. It's called toothbrush, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm.
It's a very important company. Energy company, yeah, Tüpraş is very important. And they have, so how long have you been in Tüpraş?
I was there for an internship when I was doing my master's. I was there for 3 months.
Excellent, excellent. I hope you enjoyed Turkey.
Yeah, I love it. I love the food, and I love the balance that it's like in Europe and in Asia. So it's cool. And Nura, what are you from?
I'm from Egypt, actually.
I'm Turkish American.
Oh,
Egypt, Nuran from Egypt?
Yeah.
Nice.
Masha, from Kahira or from
Yeah, Kahira.
Kahira or Sharm el-Sheikh? Which one, I had a friend, Hisham El-Ghannam from Sharm el-Sheikh. He's a cardiologist in United States. We stayed at the same home with Hisham. Egyptian, he loved Sharm el-Sheikh. He was diving all the time.
Wow. It's a good life.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I visited and we went to the Mount Sinai, where Prophet Moses was.
Yeah, it's beautiful there.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me very well?
Welcome, Salah. How are you?
I'm fine, thank God. How's everything? How are you,
أهلا
doctor?
وسهلا حبيبي.
أهلا بك. أهلا بك يا دكتور. شكرا جزيلا.
Here it looks like it says live on YouTube. I don't know if that's the link I sent, but we are live on YouTube. So we will start shortly. It's now 2 p.m. I want to thank you all. So when Zeynep tells us to go ahead and get started, we'll start. Ladies first, thanks to Salas being a really good gentleman. He gave the priority to our ladies, Nuran and Berenice. So is it Berenice or Berenice?
Berenice.
Which one do you prefer?
Well, Berenice is fine. It's the Spanish pronunciation, so you're fine. You're good.
Excellent. Habla español poquito. Not so much. I have little Spanish,
my husband studied at Mitu in Ankara. He is from Lebanon.
Yes. Yeah.
He's Lebanese.
Middle East Technical University is one of the best universities. Yeah.
Yeah, he did his bachelor's there. So we hope one day we can come back to Turkey and visit. That he's from Lebanon.
We're always
Really,
welcome.
I'm Lebanese also.
We'll be honored to have you.
Oh, nice. Salah, where in Lebanon? He's from Saida.
No, I'm from Tripoli, actually. From the north of Lebanon.
Oh, nice. I have been. You guys have the best food.
Yeah, indeed. I cannot doubt that.
Absolutely.
Lebanese food, yeah.
Even in Istanbul, we go with my wife to wherever Lebanese food is. We chase in Taksim, get our, beautiful food, Lebanese food. So it's beautiful. Even in Houston, when I was living, it was all about Lebanese restaurants, Imasis, Fadis,
Especially Arada Andalus,
So I will go ahead and get started actually, because it is now 2:03 and we are live on YouTube. So I want to thank you all for joining the Optimistic Future panel. This is a very important panel in terms of, we are going through a trials and tribulations in terms of humanity. 2020 is a very tough year for all of us. And despite all these challenges, with difficulty always comes hope. And that's the reason we gave this panel, Optimistic Future panel, because despite all these challenges, we need to look forward for hope. And both Nuran Fadlallah, Berenice Garcia Tellez, and Salah Masri, coming from different backgrounds, different visions, they will provide with their expertise, their view in terms of business sustainability, artificial intelligence, as well as renewable energy. Because each of these areas are very important for providing optimism and hope for humanity. These are some of the areas that are very important to really make sure we can have, hopeful future. I really want to first start with Nuran Fadlallah, because Nuran and Berenice is also joining us from United States, but I want to go ahead and get started with Nuran Fadlallah. She is really a very important expert in terms of what she has done in artificial intelligence. And Nuran is a very highly motivated person looking for new things and solving real problems. And as an engineer, she wants to serve the humanity. And what she has done, she is actually at Bahçeşehir University, has done an electronics engineering, and currently at Bilgi University doing a master's in electrical electronics engineering. She has really quite interesting background in terms of going back to startups, working in startups in Mechatrolab, and then Sparko startup. She was a mentor at Siemens Business and Arçelik, and also worked as a student assistant at Bahçeşehir University. She's now the artificial intelligence engineer, IT head for Yeşil Science. So, and she is really, developing herself in the areas of artificial intelligence. So with further ado, I want to provide the stage for Nuran Fadlallah with her presentation. So let's go ahead and get started. So Nuran, I want you to introduce yourself, because what I have done is just a small part of it. If you can tell a little bit about yourself and then get started with your presentation, I'll be grateful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Yavuz. Actually, it's a very kind introduction. All I can say about myself, I came from Egypt. I spent the last 5 years in Istanbul. I have learned so much from people around me. I really like the field of artificial intelligence, and I'm very motivated about its applications, especially both in robotics and medicine. I've been working for a year now in Yeşil Science, and it has been a great experience as well to be working with medical doctors on solving these health issues using artificial intelligence. And that's it. I'm just working on whatever makes me happy.
That's very nice. Thank you, Noura. I really appreciate your energy. And let's get started with your presentation. Let me go ahead and bring it up. Do you have with you, or would you like me to go ahead and bring out for you? I can turn on your presentation, sure, if you like.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Sure. So here is the presentation I have. Let me get the screen.
Mrs. Sly, also she can share her screen.
Yes.
Okay, if you would like me to.
Okay. Whichever you prefer. If you want to run yourself, Nuran, that's better for us. If you have your presentation with you, you're most welcome to share your screen, Nuran.
Okay, sure. Just a second.
Thank you so much.
I gave the permission for all of you. You can share your screen.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Zeynep. Greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So let's get started with a very, very important topic, artificial intelligence, thanks to Nuran Fadlallah.
Thank you so much. Can you see the slides only or the whole screen? I'm not sure. Like if I...
Your slides are perfect. We can see you and the slides perfect.
Okay, and it's going forward, no problem, right?
Yes, no problem.
Okay. So hello, everyone. Today, as we spoke, I will be talking about artificial intelligence. It's a topic that I've been very interested in for the past few years, and I would like to share with you the applications that has been done so far and how you can contribute into it and what are the limitations that we have in the field of artificial intelligence. So first of all, as Dr. Yavuz kindly talked about, I have a hardware background. So I was always very fascinated about machines and how they work. So we can talk about the evolution of machines from the very early history of technology. As engineers, when we talk about machines, we're talking about any kind of device or any artificial thing that can help people do their tasks more easily. So if we're talking about a simple machine, we're talking about something that's either electrical or mechanical. We're talking about a pen or a desk or a bicycle, as the one in the slide. We're talking about something either mechanical or electrical that does a task for us humans and make it easier for us. And then these kind of machines started to evolve into more complicated things, especially with the evolution of computers and processors. We started putting computers everywhere around us. So now we have washing machines that can do different programs that you can choose, or we have cars that can sense many parts of the car and just tell you on the dashboard if anything is going wrong. So we have like more complicated settings in our machines. And then with the evolution of internet as well, now we have faster connections, easier connections. We started putting an internet connection everywhere as well and call it smart machines. So right now we have, for example, a refrigerator that you can monitor the temperature in it, or you can change the settings at your home from your mobile phone, even if you're not at home. Things like that. So we call these like the smart machines. And then lately, in the past decade, we've been talking about intelligent machines. And the difference here is not that it doesn't only have some software or computer, but also these kind of machines can make decisions based on the surroundings or based on the training it has got. So we're talking here about machine learning or deep learning. And that enables us to talk about self-driving cars or unmanned airplanes. And all of these are very interesting applications that we couldn't think about like 50 years ago. But now we have it as a fact. Like we have now Tesla with self-driving modes, autopilot modes. We have Uber talking about driverless taxis. So that all of this is now available because of artificial intelligence. So for example, Tesla, now the car can sense the surroundings. It can understand also the behavior of other drivers around it and make a decision accordingly. So this is what we talk about when we say an intelligent machine. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the contributions of artificial intelligence in different fields. So I'm going to start about robotics because this is my thesis topic. And because also robotics is one of the fields that early on started using artificial intelligence, which is very understandable because, you know, factories has been the first to use many technologies in order to maximize their profits. So right now we have robotics in the shape of industrial robotic arms. That's the most common form. And the whole idea is that now robots, instead of having people on an assembly line, you have the robot that can see the surrounding, understand the surrounding, detect the target that it's supposed to deal with, and also find the shortest path to go to that target and do the task with the minimum amount of energy spent. So now you have robots working 24 hours in a factory instead of having people in dangerous situation working for 8 hours a day. So that's one of the very common uses of artificial intelligence. And then also you have kind of robots that are used in surgery, for example, where a surgeon or a doctor be using a command or commanding the robotic arm, and the arm would be doing the surgery because the robotic arm can be very delicate. It can be very specific about the amount of pressure or about the distance in millimeters. It's very accurate. So we have that as well. And then artificial intelligence comes in to reduce the latency between the surgeon's command and the movement of the robotics. So we have artificial intelligence working in many small parts in the robotic evolution right now. And then the second field I would like to talk about is medicine. And because I've been working with digital science for the past year, so my interest in the use of artificial intelligence in medicine is very great. And it's a very interesting part because like the use of a technology in medicine is not a new thing. And for example, radiologists have been using image processing techniques for a very long time. But now we can use artificial intelligence in diagnosis and prognosis and drug discovery. Even lately with CRISPR technology, people have been talking about using artificial intelligence and finding the best DNA combination and getting into a superhuman state and so on. So it's a very interesting field. It's very open. There are so many contributions in it. And one of the great uses of artificial intelligence is that, for example, we have this pandemic that happened very quickly. And in a couple of months, we can see so many studies that has been published just after the beginning of the pandemic about artificial intelligence model that can diagnose COVID-19 on X-ray and CT scans, which is something that radiologists took a while to learn. And that it was very easy to do with artificial intelligence and very quickly. So we had AI giving us a model that can diagnose the disease very quickly. Other than that, the security and defense field, especially in Turkey, has been using artificial intelligence very increasingly, from unmanned airplanes to detecting drones to many other fields that security and defense has been using. So you can see lots of companies that's using in Turkey artificial intelligence for defense applications. And then artificial intelligence really has contribution in every other field. Like these are just some examples that I wanted to state. So in agriculture, some people are using artificial intelligence to find like the effect of each parameter into the produce they're getting. In finance, it's used in predicting stock prices. In education, we're talking about more personalized tools for each student for making the best curriculum and the best way of teaching for them. And then also in media, like enhancing the videos and so on. So we have artificial intelligence contributing in every field we can think of. And I wanted to talk about the AI community because actually the community of artificial intelligence is not solely on engineers, but it's about everyone. Everybody now in their own fields, because they understand the problems in their own fields, they can contribute into making an AI model that helps them. And it's very easy to get started in artificial intelligence. All you need to do is learn Python, which is a very easy programming language. You can take a course from Deep Learning AI. There are so many artificial intelligence courses that are given both for professionals and newbies. So it's very easy to get started. You just need to have some passion about it and get started. So very quickly, I wanted to talk about what AI can help with and it can't help with so that you can understand which kind of problems it can solve. So the first thing about AI is that it can make sense of really large amount of data, which is something we don't really do well as humans. But when a machine can see large amount of data. It has big memory. It can understand the relations between these parameters very easily. So usually we use AI in things where we have lots amount of data, or in applications that we need to optimize the performance of something. So these are the applications. If you have any problem that needs optimization, you can think of an AI solution to do that for you. But the things that limit AI, that AI cannot do, is the first thing is understand causality, which is a little bit problematic, because although it makes up relations between things that we didn't see the relation before, it doesn't really understand which causes which. So a common example of that is that an artificial intelligence can see that the cancer patient's diagnosis has increased in the past years, and it sees that the cell phones usage has increased in the past years, and it might make a relation up that cancer has used the selling of cell phones, which is of course not true. But artificial intelligence cannot understand the causality. So that's why some of the relations that it can make doesn't make any sense for us. The other thing that it can do is deal with a new situation. So that's one of the problems that Tesla has been facing for a long time, is that they try to train it on all of the probable situations, but if a car can see a new situation and hasn't been trained on, we cannot expect its performance in that situation. So it's very important to train whatever AI model you have into lots and lots of data. The last thing I want to talk about, like I've talked about how AI contributed in some fields, but there are also some fields that contribute in the development of AI. The first one, obviously, is electronics. So the better computers we have, the better processors we have, the better AI models we can have later. Second thing is data. So the more data we have about any topic, the better AI models we can get. And then ethics and philosophy, and engineers, especially engineers, usually don't really care about this part. But actually, if people don't see the ethics behind using an AI in a specific field or in a specific situation, it will limit the AI use after a while. That gets us to the next point, which is laws. So right now, there isn't many laws that limit the AI use, but we can predict that it will happen very soon. We will have governmental laws limiting the use of AI in certain situations. And then the last thing is contributors. The more contributors we have in the AI field, the better AI models we will get. Yeah, so that concludes it. I just want everybody to think about a problem in their own field and find their roles in actually solving these problems using AI. It's very easy to be a part of this new amazing technology. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nuran, for the amazing presentation. Clearly, we now understand what AI can do and cannot do, and how it impacts our lives. I also asked through the YouTube live link as well as through the group for any questions. I have from Ibrahim Evlo a comment, actually. She's thanking you. And Ibrahim is also working in data analytics and waited for your presentation most of all. That's the reason he attended. He is asking, can you please suggest projects with best AI practices which are openly shared on GitLab or Kaggle, like analytics and automation? Do you have any recommendation for Ibrahim Evlo?
I wouldn't say a specific code or something, but you have so many competitions on Kaggle that have best practices, like rated codes. It's always very interesting to watch these, especially that competitions usually has something related to what's going on in real life, actually. So it's always good to practice on these competitions. It will help you so much more with other applications in real life.
Excellent. Excellent. I also want to understand, from your perspective, being dived into artificial intelligence, and you clearly defined what it can do and cannot do, like it does not understand causality or deal with new situation. Do you think the further new versions of AI, since it's a learning curve, do you think it will ever come to a level of understanding causality or dealing with a new situation? And, you know, of course, this is more like a sci-fi question, you know, which always we are watching all the time, so many things, and in terms of taking over, things like that. But what do you think, how far are we, or will it ever happen or not? That's my question.
It's a very good question. What I can say is with the technologies we have right now in artificial intelligence, it's not possible. The way the artificial intelligence work right now, it cannot make that kind of relations, and it cannot develop desires to take over the world or have that kind of complicated emotions or even understand them as humans. But maybe at one point we can design a new kind of technology that can acquire these kinds of qualities, but for now it's not possible. That's all I can say.
Okay. I mean, this is for automated cars usually, right? Since we're moving to automated cars now, self-driving cars, where it doesn't have even a driver itself. So if it is going to hit someone, this is like a typical test they ask, right? They have done some tests. It has like an old person or a young person, and it has only one chance to do something. So the artificial intelligence will make the decision there. So in itself, the artificial intelligence will make a decision to who to kill or not to kill while driving the car. So yes, it maybe it's too far from taking over the world, but it's still, for me, if I die, it's 100% for me, you know? So it's my Armageddon, right? So for that person who's gonna be hit by the car, do you think being hit by, due to a decision from artificial intelligence, what will be the ramifications?
I understand. Actually, this is also one of the roles of ethics and philosophy into the contribution of AI, because these kinds of companies that are working on such crucial applications of AI usually do have some philosophers or people into ethical philosophy and so on to find a solution for these questions. But actually these questions has been around for ages, and even humans don't know how to deal with them. But yeah, it raises a questions of responsibility. If the AI decides to take one decision other than the others, who would be responsible for it? This is a question has been for ages, and I don't think there is very clear answer to it, and we can't do much about it. But all I can say that the technology itself, if it has been trained on such a situation, and most of these companies try to train their models on these situations, and you as the trainer of this model, you give it a priority. You're the one who make it take that decision later on. But if it's a new situation for it, if it hasn't been trained on it, but although most companies do that usually, then it's a matter of fate. You don't know how it will act in such a situation. And yeah, it's a problem of talking about responsibility. Who would be responsible in that case? It is unknown.
Thank you so much. I mean, there are many typical questions like these, and we're wide open for questions that will come from our audience. We have actually a couple questions there, anonymous ones. He says, my question might not be related with the topic, but do you think that can Elon Musk be the next Steve Jobs or Einstein?
It would be totally like my opinion. It wouldn't be based on facts or anything. But yeah, I mean, he has the power right now. He has the knowledge. He has the money. I think he's already one of the biggest names in technology. It's a fact already. It's not something in the future.
Okay, so I said yes, potentially, and answered the question.
Nice.
So with that, I want to thank you, Nuran. I think artificial intelligence is very important in many areas. You know, you gave a very nice overview, and you know, I'm a physician entrepreneur in medicine. Also, there are many applications of using, you know, which we call smart healthcare, basically, and all these smart healthcare platforms using artificial intelligence. They are now diagnosing skin cancer. So there are many repetitive things a human cannot perform or may be bored to perform and may have higher chance of fault. Thanks to artificial intelligence and with the learning curve, it is able to perform better than human, including diagnosing cancer, like skin cancer or other pathologies. So I want to thank you. There are so many applications, and what you're doing is very valuable. What your area is extremely valuable, and it's very important to combine your expertise with, as an engineer, with physicians, with other code writers and other in other areas. And that your question was beautiful. In our areas, we should think about how to actually utilize artificial intelligence and see how the problem can be solved using artificial intelligence. So I want to thank you for your time, and this session will continue, but I want to give you your last words before we move to Berenice Garcia Teles.
Sure. Thank you very much again for the opportunity. I'm very happy to share all of these ideas with you guys. And like, if we had the time, I would like to, of course, talk more specifically about medicine and robotics. But it's, as I said, it's a very interesting field. There is so much more that can be done using this technology, and it's very important that everybody looks about like how they can use that kind of technology in their own fields. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nuran. I really appreciate your valuable time. We look forward to inviting you to future sessions. We want to thank you on behalf of the Future Science Group for your valuable contributions. And next, I want to invite Berenice Garcia Teles. Berenice is actually joining us from Colorado. So it's bright and early. She's holding up with her coffee mug. Thank you, Berenice, for joining. And I truly appreciate your time, and your expertise is also extremely important in terms of the sustainable business. The work you're doing in Colorado is very commendable. And I want to also highlight a little bit about Berenice. I have her amazing resume in front of me, so I'll give some highlights and then give the work to Berenice Garcia Teles. Berenice is actually a very important person, in terms of having really good experience in research and data analysis, and also in communication with multilingual and international work experience. And currently, she is in the Latino Chamber of Commerce in Boulder County, Colorado, and she is working to support the Hispanic business community in Boulder County through mentorship and professional development, and developing the logistics of the annual Latino Business Expo that includes the showcasing of Latino entrepreneurs, which is extremely valuable. She is also the Sustainability Advisory Board member in the town of Erie in Colorado, and really focus to try and support the good stewardship for the environment and provide tools in the region for the businesses. And she is also an economic sustainability specialist. Before, she had that experience back in the city of Longmont. And also she also had great experience in translation, as well as an advisor and in program specialist. Amazing roles, and clearly she has grown to a very important level throughout her career. She is actually received a Master of Environmental Science and Engineering from the King Abdullah University, Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia. And also she got a Bachelor of Chemical Engineering from the Universidad de las Americas in Pueblo, Mexico. And also from Italy, she did a Bachelor of chemical engineering in international exchange program in Politecnico di Torino in Italy. She has many publications in the areas of energy for water to understand the framework, and also the energy for water and agriculture, and a very nice work on the GCC and its goal of food self-sufficiency, which is very important. So I want to, with further ado, since it's bright and early, I want to give the floor to Berenice Garcia Teles. Thank you for joining, Berenice. The floor is yours.
Merhaba, everyone. Yes, thank you for your kind introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for you guys to see. And yes, it's quite early, but it's fine. I'm happy to be here with you. Okay.
And while Berenice is turning on her screen, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone wants to ask any questions, they're welcome to ask through our YouTube channel as well as through the chat here in the panel. So you're always welcome to ask. We want to make the session as dynamic as we can. Thank you.
Yes, and I lost my screen for some reason. I got you back. Just a second. We live in a strange world, so.
No worries, no worries. Please take your time. And again, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to ask any questions to our panelists. We really appreciate your attendance. I see Şeyda, Siri, Sarah Betul, Norhata Ibrahim, Fatma Nesibe, Farah Naz, Cansu, Blank, Beyzagül, and many more through YouTube joining. So feel free to ask any questions at any time, and thanks for joining. Your screen is up. We're good to go. You just need to unmute and we're good to go.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, first of all, I want to thank Sarah Guller and Future of Science group for inviting me to talk today about business sustainability and share with you part of the work I'm doing here in the city of Longmont in Colorado. And today we're going to talk about the importance for businesses to become sustainable. And I'm going to present a program that we're doing here in Colorado and some local actions that businesses can do, not only here in the US, but it can apply everywhere. So what is business sustainability? If we think about what United Nations tell us about sustainability, we know that it means meeting the actual social, economic, and environmental needs of today's people without compromising the ability to meet those resources for future generation. And if we translate this concept to a more enterprise forum, the Financial Times tell us that business sustainability represents resiliency over time. So businesses can hold on, can afford a shock of a crisis because they are well connected to sound economic, social, and environmental systems. So producing high quality jobs, helping us to reduce inequality, poverty, increasing GDP in a fair way, and also helping us to restore the environment. Like now we see it in Colorado, we have fires in California. So when this kind of happen, sustainable businesses can endure more and help more and be strong and resilient. And they also help us to build stronger communities. And I want to emphasize on this last point, because to build stronger communities, you need to include equity in the process. If we want to achieve a climate change goals, we can have all the planning that we want, but if we don't include all the people in the process, we will never, according to my experience, arrive there. So we need to support and accommodate a system and to remove the barriers for those groups that they maybe didn't have the resources. And Nura was talking about artificial intelligence. So all these resources have to be equal and people need to have access, something that will lead to justice and will remove the barriers. So businesses in this case, they will have access to resources to become sustainable, to create economic opportunities, and they will, at the end, reduce their environmental impact. And I want to play a video for you to listen to, some of the work we have done here in Longmont. And let me see if I can share. I'm gonna share the sound with you again for you to listen. Something happened, just give me a second.
Building a sustainable community is more than caring for our environment.
It's about making you, your family, and your business stronger by giving everyone a chance to participate.
Left Hand Brewing Company has joined other businesses in Longmont to work toward a common goal, and we are ready to share the next step.
By building on these 3 essential pillars: environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and economic sustainability.
Todos podemos involucrarnos y poner un granito de arena, apoyarnos y ser triunfadores en este programa.
Help the company you work for take the first step.
By learning more about the Longmont vision for sustainability and see the free resources available to make it happen. Together, we can thrive
today and tomorrow.
Tener un mejor futuro para todos.
Hi, my name is Berenice Garcia Tejes. I am the Economic Sustainability Specialist for the City of Longmont. Learn more about how to become a sustainable business in our website. Together, we can thrive today and tomorrow.
Okay, let's continue with our presentation. So I wanted to play that video for you just to show you what...
Good to see you again. It's Stephanie from the library with Friday Family Story Time.
Sorry about
Should
that.
we read some books together today? I'm super excited.
Okay. Apologies again. So I want to share that video to see that what is the aspect to lead with racial equity. And because if we want to achieve environmental sustainability goals and reduce our greenhouse emissions, we have to address the social and economic problems that some businesses in this case have. So we built a sustainable business program that was enacted in 2019. We launched it last year, and I'm proud to say that it's the first national city program based on what they call it the triple bottom line. So we look at the people, profit, and planet aspects in business sustainability. This program is bilingual because in Longmont, 30% of our population is Latino, Hispanic. So we're trying to include them to achieve this business sustainability. And it's free and voluntary because we want to, before making an ordinance, we want to make sure that businesses join the program because they want to change and they want to learn more. And we recognize and support businesses' efforts to make a change, an impact, to reduce their environmental footprints, to act socially responsible, and to contribute to the local economy, especially now and after the pandemic. And we lead on racial equity, as you could see on the video. And this program is open to everyone, but we focus on the small to medium businesses because for them it's difficult to access resources. And as I mentioned before, if we want to achieve larger goals in the future, in this case for climate change, we need to elevate these businesses. We need to help them to reduce their energy, water use, and how we can do that to remove some barriers that they have been facing since the past for the systemic and racial issues, especially here in the US. So we have the different levels. We have gold, silver, and bronze, and they get these classifications based on how many questions they answer. And those checklists are based on social, economic, and environmental questions. I just wanted to show you some businesses that worked with us last year, and we had a variation. We have like medical companies, big factories, small taquerias, some nonprofits. Really, we're getting traction here in Longmont and Colorado, and we're impacting other areas. We're collaborating with Michigan that they want to learn our model, and we're hoping to see this not only in the US, but to inspire other cities and other countries to do the same. But because businesses have a very high high voice in terms when talking to government to policy. So it's important for them to follow this sustainable path. And something that they can get is like access to resources and education, peer-to-peer learning. We promote them with all our economic partners. And of course, they will reduce their operating costs, and they will have access to financial tools and eventually lower the utility bills. But I want to go back to the equity piece, because some businesses here, they need to address like basic aspects when they want to operate. Some of them, they need to learn how to navigate the system. They have some barriers like language, or they don't know that in order to open a business in the US, you need to have environmental inspections, you have to have a permit required. They need to, now during the pandemic, they don't know which documents to use to apply for a grant. So you accommodate and you give them the resources to also have access to the tools that the system have for them to thrive and to recover now after the crisis of COVID. So becoming a sustainable business and using all these tools is a way for them to recover quicker. And I want to tell you that before the pandemic, we see a lot of trends, more adoption of renewable energy. And I think Salah will talk to us about that. More demand for electrical cars. These communities were like fighting for equality and equity. We saw nowadays like the Black movement. And we have a lot of demand from younger generations to do sustainable actions. And they were now younger people, they prefer to buy from companies that are social and environmental responsible. And we were seeing all of these more digitalization, artificial intelligence, like Nura say, and also more work on water scarcity. And this is important, but now with the pandemic, we have seen that what people expect have changed. Now people is willing to support more companies that are doing social and environmental causes. They are now looking how the companies treat their employees, what they are doing during the pandemic, and they think that those companies that are social and purpose-driven are doing a better job now during COVID. And we see it because, as I mentioned before the pandemic, there was some like work on the circular economy, some demands on from younger generations to have local actions. But now that shift has changed. Now people is really looking at the social aspect, that what these businesses are doing, that it's not only their profit that they should care, they should think about all the stakeholders. So how they are paying their employees, how they are helping if they get sick. Now I'm seeing more trust on science. So that is good. So what I recommend businesses to do right now is to focus on two things: in saving lives, because our lives are at stake. So we need to wear a mask, we need to follow the guidelines from the health department. And we need to also focus on saving livelihoods, because in the long term, we need to see how we were going to provide jobs, the income for those employees that are now unemployed. I mean, the supply chain, how to work with business partners. And one of the ways that they can do it is by becoming a sustainable business, because in sustainable businesses, they can apply best practices to reduce their economic costs, like having eco upgrades for more energy efficiency, water conservation, but also they can help the community have a social and a local impact. I heard from some business, that they are a bar, so they have to close. They haven't opened for all this time. So some businesses did like a collector of money to help them thrive during this time. And they were making stories on social media, and people knew about it. So they are supporting more that business that is helping the bar that is not opening. So it's important to keep that in mind. And also, I want to emphasize that having a certification as a sustainable business, or as a green business, or a social business is good for them, because this brings confidence to the clients. It means that you are doing the right thing, you are following safety procedures, you are taking care of your employees, you are showing your commitment to the community. And of course, that is a good branding and produces loyal customers. So after the pandemic, what we want is going to be different. We want something that is safe. Now that it's domestic, because of the whole pandemic issue, something that is, we're in a crisis. We need to have like price sensitive products and services, and businesses need to have a presence online. You see, I have a issue with technology, like putting my screen. So I always tell businesses, you guys need to have, now winter is coming. We need to have, you guys need to have a presence online, especially those business of color that they don't have the resources and tools. We're partnering with other economic partners to bring them and have a Facebook page, a website, because if not, I don't know, I'm really tell them that many people is spending time at home. So having a presence online is important. And also to provide like reliving and memorable services and products. You know, if you sell a chicken, make sure that it's the best chicken that you sell in order for people to come back and give you a nice review or order more food. Of course, having a presence on social media is important, and doing all of this, taking care of the community, your whole bottom line is being sustainable. It's being sustainable. And there are like different strategies that they can implement in the recovery plan, and that will lead them, you know, to save costs, and they can start learning how to read their utility bill, because sometimes for example, restaurants, they operate for a longer hours. They don't know that there are ways they are more efficient equipment they can have in their business, you know, to reduce the gas and the electricity, or just, you know, I'm just telling you, just to don't block the windows from the AC or from the heater. That can save you a lot of energy, but sometimes we don't know. So we create all these resources in English and Spanish for businesses to learn, and it has been great. But we need, you know, we're hoping to inspire other communities to do the same, because at the end, we want to help the environment. We want to reduce greenhouse gas emission, but we need to address all these social and economic aspects that some businesses have to achieve there. And I'm sure I'm taking this an opportunity to work with minority-owned businesses, to let them know and to teach them and to offer them like rebates and programs that the city and the county and the state has, to be in the same page like other businesses. And it's really interesting that before the pandemic, these minority-owned businesses, they didn't have time to listen to me or to learn about sustainability. But now the pandemic, I know it's bad, but it has been very like a silver lining for my program, because they have more time to learn, because they are seeing a benefit to their pocket. But once you earn their trust, they know that they are helping a bigger monster that, you know, that will be facing in the future, that is climate change, and, you know, to have a more resilient and better world. And now we see it with all the fires that we have been having in the last weeks in Colorado. Those communities are being affected. So more businesses want to learn how they can support them, and they see it. If they become sustainable, now they're having more loyal customers, and they are becoming leaders in the community, and now they are helping us to have other connections with other businesses, and that is being great. And at the end, through the crisis, we have seen, and I'm sure but there in other countries, you'll see that everything is connected. That, and now we see it in COVID, and we see that there are inequitable access to resources for some communities, that our supply chains are fragile. So we need to be very careful that once the pandemic is over, we don't overstress our food system, and we need to support the most vulnerable, because all of these that we're talking can really get worse with climate change. So having a path for businesses in this case as a sustainable, or having sustainable communities is a good way to face COVID and climate change in the future. So I always tell businesses that your city is the destination that you want to sell. So invest on it. That COVID now is forcing businesses to act more responsible in the long term. And now empathy, support are key to have a success. And we need to aim to create not only the financial value, but also social value. And we need to reflect on an environmental footprint. I mean, we have been, I don't know, I see this pandemic like a good time to reflect on what businesses are doing, that after all is over and we have a vaccine, they can open doors in a more sustainable fashion that will lead to a resiliency in the future, because no one expects for for businesses to take these bold actions to take care of their community, their environment, their economy. But if I always tell, if you guys do this, you're building a legacy for tomorrow. And as I mentioned before, you have a local voice in government. So if you lead all this effort, you can really help us to achieve those climate change goals faster. But again, we need to include equity into the question and include those communities too. Once the pandemic's over, we can move together towards those goals. And I think that's all of my presentation. If you have any question, I put here my email. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you, Berenice. This was a really, really enlightening presentation for all attendees. I want to thank you, for this really important work you're doing in Colorado. That's really valuable, and we need more people like you really focusing on building the equity piece around the work, around social justice in the United States. And also, I want to ask you the first question, if I may, from your view, why is it so important to align the underserved communities to efficiency levels? And why is that so important?
Yeah, because before, this relates to something that when I was working in Saudi Arabia, I really saw it that, it's nice to do research and write articles. That is really, really impactful and helpful. But to produce action, you need to act locally. And these communities, because I always see we have you need to reduce 50% of in energy use in 2025. Yeah, and if you see in our case, all the emissions come from the commercial sector. So you cannot just go and do ordinance and tell them, oh, you cannot buy any more gas equipments. I think for me, my approach is talk to them, find the resources, how they can do that change and remove all these barriers in order for them to reduce their energy use. And it's working. Some of our county, they have a program now. It's called Pace Equity, where they pay for 70% of the cost to change some old kitchen equipment to a new one. So you're removing the barrier. And having this, especially in the US, we are a country from different regions, different cultures. And these underserved groups, they haven't had the access in the past to do that change because there is a systemic racism in the past. And now we're trying to address this, to remove those barriers for those groups to have also access to make that change. And because they want to help the environment, they want to reduce climate change, but they are busy surviving, helping their family, sending back money to Latin America. Some of their children, they don't have schools or insurance. So once we address those and help them, on that aspect, they can join us in the fight for climate change.
Very well, thank you. So I lived in the United States for 14 years, and in the areas when I was in Houston, for example, in Texas Medical Center, I never felt any racial injustice. I think it depends on where you are, in what part of United States you're living, and what type of job you're doing. But I understand from your presentation that you're clearly saying we cannot achieve environmental sustainability and climate change without first addressing the racial equity. And we know US is a melting pot and there are different backgrounds of people. And this is actually the strength of US. You can be a Mexican American, you can be a Turkish American, African American, whatever. But why did it turn, how to, within the business and with the pandemic, I was expecting more of a unification, but with all these events that happened with George Floyd and others, I'm seeing more of a division. And how can we tackle that through your programs, through sustainable, approaches? What do you think?
First of all, yeah, I think what happened to George Floyd, yeah, it caused division, but also it was like an eye opener and a shaking for some governments and some cities that what we're doing is not working. We really need to rely on these sustainable and social justice tools to support the African American community. And now I don't know if you have seen all TV in the US. Now we see more businesses like having more promotion or marketing about how they are helping African American communities or Black communities in the US. And that's why I was saying during my presentation, businesses have a very powerful voice. And if they start like supporting all these social causes, environmental causes, they can help us to achieve in this case climate change goals faster. So, and yeah, you mentioned that some of us, we have been privileged to don't face all those racism or experience, but other communities really have suffered a lot. And it's nice to see that some governments are really taking care and thinking how to address those injustices in the past and to elevate and provide just equal and equity access to everyone. It's a long way, but we're building traction. And I'm sure we're going to see changes in the next 10 to 20 years because the demographics of the US is changing as well.
Absolutely. I mean, but that change in demographic also makes some people more worried. Like it's a land of immigrants. So the one which comes next is not like by the one that was there before. And they all claim they're American. So this is the challenge I see. It's more of an education problem from my perspective. Like you don't choose your mom and dad. I don't choose my mom and dad. How can I feel superior to you because of something I have not strived for or earned for? I think racism is one of the biggest issues, regardless of religion, background, whatever principles you are abide to, that needs to be fought against. And this is something that is a problem even for Turkish people in Europe there is also Islamophobia, there is all anti-Semitism, So depending on where you are, in which part of the world you are, if you are a minority, you may feel underserved, you may feel less privileged. And it's always a challenge. And I see the only solution is really education for that. And it's like the sustainable business programs, what you're doing. And the pandemic clearly actually shown us the worst in people as well and the best in people through help, through community service. Some people rise to the challenge and actually brought the better part of themselves to the communities during the COVID-19. And I hope, thanks to your hard work, what you're doing is very valuable. And we would love to host you again in the future. And I'm opening for other questions from anyone. If there are any questions for Berenice Garcia Telles, they're welcome. Yes, Berenice.
I just want to say that something, and I should have put it on my presentation, that is really helping us is to work with cultural brokers. So in your case, for example, you have the Turkish culture, you know how the community works, what they are their values. So what we're doing here is like work with these professionals that they are bicultural, that they speak English and community languages that we want to help, and they understand the culture. So these cultural brokers are helping us to advance quicker these changes because they can explain, in their culture values, in their own ways, why it's important to support climate change. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I saw that someone wants to learn more, so I will put the link of the program in the chat. And thank you very much for inviting me.
We would all want to support your hard work. It's very important to build bridges between communities, and we are much more alike than we're different. So we need to find ways to create synergy. And what you're doing is really commendable, Berenice. Thank you for your amazing work. And let us know how can we help, as the Future Science Group, as well as here with all our attendees. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also see here from Ibrahim Evlo a comment. He says, no questions, just a huge thanks. It is amazing to see state organizations to help businesses these days. Also, I see from Blanche a comment here. We'll be very grateful if Mrs. Berenice would share the link where we can access or know more about her project. This is very interesting. I'm getting really good comments from everyone. So again, if you share the link, we will be grateful and we will be happy to support your amazing initiative. Thank you very much, Berenice. If there are other questions from the panelists or from anyone attending the program, they're welcome to ask now. Thank you.
Yes, I'm also gonna.
If there are no more questions, I want you to take the last words about what you want to say. The floor is open for you, Berenice.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to Sarah and the Science of Future group for inviting me. Yeah, I will be happy to come and talk to you guys in the future more about it.
Thank you so much.
And to have some case studies about how we have helped some businesses. Some of them, they were paying like $2,000 per month of energy, and now they were about to bankrupt. So all our efforts that we did helped them to save on the energy bills, and now they are so happy with the program, and they are advising other businesses to join. And I also want to say that before COVID, there was a sustainable brands for businesses in Istanbul happening. I don't know if this year will be virtual, but I will put the link as well. Thank you very much, and I'm excited to hear Salah's presentation.
Thank you, Berenice. So I'm moving to Salah Merci now. Salah, we're really excited to have you here. I will give a little bit update about yourself, and then I will ask you to also talk about yourself, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Salah Merci is actually doing a master's degree in electric and electronics engineering at the Bilgi University in Istanbul. His research interest is about renewable green energy, and he has also doing a master thesis on developing a microgrid for Büyükada Island in Istanbul, which is very interesting. And he will be talking about, in general, about renewable energy and their effect on the environment and economical aspects, their types, and the future of green energy. Welcome aboard, Salah. We're really excited to have you, our dear friend from Lebanon, which has the best cuisine in the world. So the floor is yours, Salah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, it's been an honor to join all of you. And thanks for everyone for joining us here. So, and no further ado, I will share my screen. I will start my PowerPoint. Okay. Everyone can see it? Okay, first of all, I'm gonna talk about the importance in general of the green energy. So of course I'm interested in the renewable energy because all we know that the global warming affects the weather all over the world, and there is a lot of cancers, there is a lot of, that's why this is my concern here in this area. And it is clean energy, and it is also renewable, sustainable, so we can use it in the best way. It is also, in a way, it is cheaper than the others. It depends. Just 1 second. So of course, I'm going to talk about what is renewable energy, their types and how they work, and the effects of their environment and economical aspects, and the future of green energy in Turkey. So as an introduction, the energy generated by using wind, tides, solar, geothermal heat, and biomass, including farm and animal waste, is known as non-conventional energy. So we have the conventional and non-conventional. All those renewables are non-conventional. And all these sources are also, we can say, are renewable and inexhaustible and do not cause environmental pollution. And they do not require heavy expenditure. So in general, what is renewable energy? It is natural resources that can be replaced and reused by nature are termed renewable. Renewable resources are placed through natural processes at a rate that is equal to or greater than the rate at which they are used. And depletion is usually not a worry. Okay? As we said before, renewable energy comes from nature resources such as sunlight, wind, tides, plants, geothermal heat. These energy resources are renewable, meaning they are naturally replenished. Uh, in contrast, fossil fuels are a finite resource that take millions of years to develop and will continue to diminish with use. That's why we need always renewable energies, because the fuel will be diminished with time. Anyway, so there are many types of renewable energy, and I'm going to talk about those five. About the solar power, wind, hydro, geothermal, and biomass. Okay, first of all, the solar power, which is the most common one. It is very important. It is the most relevant type of renewable energy. Solar power is typically produced using photovoltaic cells, which capture sunlight and turn it into electricity, which is obvious. Solar energy is also used to heat buildings and water, provide natural lighting, and cook food. Solar technologies have become expensive enough to power everything from small handheld gadgets to entire neighborhoods. Major uses of solar energy, it can be used for heating the power, space heating, and generating electrical energy. So also the solar technologies can be for the daylighting, uh, as the first picture, for passive solar heating, the concentrating solar thermal. This is like a farm, big farm of solar energy, solar thermal. And the last one is the photovoltaic PV, which is the PV panel, which is the most common one we know. Photovoltaic components. So it is like, this is the cell, PV cells. Then a bunch of cells it is a module, and bunch of modules is an arrays. And usually we know this array. We saw it a lot. It is very common. So in general, the advantages of solar energy are, they are of course clean, sustainable, free of cost, provide electricity to remote places, from one place to another. The disadvantages, its efficiency, the efficiency is maximum 30%. The best photovoltaic cell panel, it can give us like 30 or maybe 20%, some of them 13, 17%. The best one of them is 30%. And the equipment are a little bit costly, especially the batteries. Every 4 or 5 years, they need another batteries. Part-time, of course, because there is like the sunrise, sunset. High maintenance cost, of course, it will cost a lot of maintenance because of especially the batteries and the installation part. And this is an example of photovoltaic array fields. As we can see here, this is the arrays. Those are the arrays. There is a big fields. They can provide electricity to another remote areas. Second, the wind power. So when there is like an airflow on the Earth's surface, can be used to push turbines. Whenever we have stronger winds producing, we can produce more energy. And high altitude sites and areas offshore tend to provide the best conditions for capturing the strongest winds. Of course, when those wind power they are in the top of a hill, usually, it can produce the best efficiency. So according to a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, a network of land-based 2.5 megawatt wind turbines in rural areas operating at just 20% of their rated capacity could supply 40 times of the current worldwide consumption of energy, which is very interesting. So common wind turbine construction. So this is the wind turbine from the inside, as you can see here. These are the blades. and they are connected to the main shaft. And this main shaft usually the rotational speed of it is between 40 to 400 RPM revolution per minute. That's the speed range. Then after this there is the gearbox transmission. It do a transmission of the speed from 4 to 400 RPM to 1,200 to 1,800 RPM to for the electric generator here in the electric generator. And this break also for just controlling the speed, speed of the generator. And there is a lot of applications from small to intermediate to large. Small, less than 10 kilowatts for homes, farms, small farms. Intermediate from 10 to 250 kilowatt to village power, hybrid system, distributed power. There is large applications, 660 kilowatt to around 2 megawatt. There is a central stations, wind farms, community wind, as you can see here in this picture. So usually the location of wind farms, we can put them on the mountains or hill areas. And it can be built even on seasides or oceans. Usually the locations are offshore and onshore. Onshore, which is like on mountains, and offshore it will be like on the seasides or oceans. Of course, there is many advantages for wind power. Wind turbines can be very tall. Each takes up only a small plot of land, not much, as you can see. Remote areas that are not connected to the electricity power grid can use wind turbines to produce their own supply. And finally, the wind turbines are available in a range of sizes, which means a vast range of people and businesses can use them. It depends on the application itself, if it is a home or powering a neighborhood or maybe a city or more. The disadvantages of wind turbine, it is not uniform because there is not always the same amount of wind as an input to the wind turbine. Wind turbines are noisy. Of course, when we approach the wind turbine, it is really noisy. The capacity of wind turbine is less, and it is less efficiency. The output of the wind turbine is around 30% maximum. So, wind power in Turkey. Turkey in general ranks the 5th among Europe's leading producers of strategic wind turbine components, according to the latest Wind Europe report, Wind Energy and Economic Recovery in Europe. And also Turkey follows these countries, follows Germany, Spain, Italy, and Denmark, with 12 operational facilities, makes it the 5th largest wind turbine component producer in Europe. Of these 12 facilities, 6 facilities produce towers, 4 produce blades, and 2 facilities produce castings. And as we know, Izmir has become the capital of wind energy, as 60% of the country's wind capacity, representing 10% of the country's total installed capacity in 2020, is manufactured in and around the Izmir area, 20% in Izmir and 40% in the surrounding areas. There is a recent report by the Turkish Wind Energy Association said the province Izmir is estimated to have the capacity to produce 15 billion euros worth of wind turbines by 2023. Izmir wind turbine capacity reached 1,549 megawatt at the end of last year, and it is expected to reach 2,000 megawatt in the next 2 years, the report said. And I just take those from the Daily Sabah, dailysabah.com. Then I'm going to talk about the hydropower. The hydropower, also called hydroelectric power. Hydropower is generated by the Earth's water cycle, including evaporation, rainfall, tides, and the force of water running through a dam. The hydropower depends on high precipitation levels to produce significant amounts of energy. So, what is the location of hydropower plants? Generally located near rivers, dams, streams, high pressure water resources. So, this is a basic layout of hydropower plant. There is here, we can see the reservoir. Here is the reservoir, and here is the intake. There is the control gate. From the control gate, we can control the amount of water entering this penstock, and then from the penstock can enter the turbine, and this water can enter the turbine to do a mechanical work, and this mechanical work is transferred to electrical energy, then to the transformers, then to the power lines, to the neighborhood. Also the economic aspect of hydroelectric in Turkey, from the last 18 years till now, hydroelectric plants contribute to $33.3 billion to Turkish economy in 18 years. And Turkey's have 587 hydroelectric power plants, all of which came into service in the last 18 years, have been generated 895 billion kilowatts hour of electricity, contributing nearly 233 billions, which is $33.3 billion, to the country's economy and agriculture. The country's production potential has also increased from 44 billion kilowatt hour to 102.1 billion kilowatt hour. So there is a big step up for the production of the hydroelectric energy in Turkey, as the country aims to capitalize on domestic and renewable sources of energy to reduce its share of imports from the outside. Turkey's renewable energy capacity significantly increased in 2019 with a steady rise of 11% per year. So really the government is working in this area very much. Every year there is a rise of 11% with the hydro. Also, there is in general the geothermal energy. So in general, what is geothermal comes from the Greek words. Ge is earth and thermos hot. So the geothermal energy means heat inside the earth. So just inside the earth's crust are massive amounts of thermal energy, which originates from both the original formation of the planet and the radioactive decay of minerals. Geothermal energy is in the form of hot springs, has been used by humans for millennia for bathing, and now it's being used to generate electricity. So how do we use geothermal energy? As you can see here, there is a power plant, there is a well, and there is a geothermal reservoir. So the power plants use steam from geothermal wells to make electricity, and this steam used to spin turbines, and this turbine spin magnets to coil of copper wire to make electricity. Very basic. So where can we find geothermal energy? Yeah, we can find it in earthquakes, volcanoes, hot springs, and especially volcanoes. Geothermal energy is clean and cheap because no fuel is burned, so there is no air pollution. The steam is turned into water and put back into earth. This thing we talked about. And geothermal energy is cheap. New power plants can make electricity for about the same as coal power plants. And this is one of the geothermal power plant in the Central Asian province of Denizli, one of them. This is here in Turkey, Asian side. Turkey's geothermal power development, and so Turkey has managed to exponentially expand its renewable capacity, capitalizing on the vast resources of solar, wind, and geothermal power. So while recording record increases in wind and solar capacity at the European and global scale, Turkey has also become the fourth country with the highest geothermal power capacity in the world, following the US, Indonesia, and the Philippines. As a result of the rising domestic and renewable capacity expansion, Turkey has supplied 65% of its electricity from local resources in the last 7 months from this year. The Energy and Natural Resources Ministry said that the increase rose of $1.5 billion from the country's energy bill. And geothermal power plants generate 2.5% of Turkey's electricity generation. So 2.5% electricity generation is just from geothermal power plants. So I'm going to talk a little bit about biomass. Biomass has recently natural materials like wood waste, especially the waste for the wood, sawdust, combustible agricultural waste. So it can be converted into energy with far fewer greenhouse gas emissions than petroleum-based fuel sources. That's because these materials, known as biomass, contain stored energy from the sun. So last, I'm gonna talk about the future of green energy in Turkey. So Turkey had 42 gigawatt of installed renewable power at the end of 2018. And this is set to increase by 50% between 2019 and 2024 to reach around 63 gigawatt by 2024, according to the International Energy Agency, IEA. This capacity will make Turkey one of the 5 countries in Europe with the highest renewable-based capacity, ranking 11th in the world also, which is very important. Turkey will follow Germany, France, Spain, and Italy in Europe on its extended renewable power, underlining that Turkey will see a technology shift in the coming 5 years, as 75% of the additional installed renewable capacity between 2019 and 2024 will come from solar and wind, the most common renewable energies. And generally, Turkey will add almost 21 gigawatt to its installed renewable energy capacity between 2019 and 2024. Thank you all for listening, and any questions? These are my references.
Thank you very much. I have many questions, Salah, very helpful. We want to thank you for this outstanding presentation. It gave us a very good overview of, what green energy, renewable energy is, and how it evolves. There are many questions I received from different channels, from WhatsApp groups, from YouTube, as well as through here. The first question is an anonymous question here in the group. As I remember, you said green energy is inexpensive. Then why don't we use renewable energy all the time? Thank you.
Why we cannot use it? So look, there is a lot of aspects and why we cannot use it. First of all, the government.
It's inexpensive, but why don't we use all the time renewable energy?
Yeah, look, there is a lot of aspects. First of all, the government should, in the first place, should how can I say this? Should I forgot this term. I'm sorry.
So it depends on which type of energy we are talking about, right? Is it wind or solar?
Of course, it depends.
Each has its own technical areas.
Yes, you are right. In this area. Yeah. So. Any other question I can give?
Sure. There are many more questions. Is artificial intelligence applied in green energy? Can you provide some examples, asked by Ibrahim Evloev?
Yeah, very good.
So is artificial intelligence applied in green energy? Are there any examples?
Yes, actually, we can use artificial intelligence in green energy. For example, and I will use it also with my thesis. You can use the machine learning specifically for load forecasting, and you can do a load forecasting for 1 month for an area. So you can know, or you can forecast, or you can predict the load, how it will perform, during the day, during the hourly, daily. So you can use some machine learning algorithms to know how it will perform in the future, or predict the loads.
Excellent.
So, yeah. So actually, I'm gonna use it also, this machine learning thing to do a load forecasting for this Buyuk Island, and also for controlling. Maybe I will use neural network to control the my microgrid there in Buyuk Island.
Sure. So another question I have is, It is coming from another WhatsApp group and health research group by Dr. Selçuk Becker. He's saying, how much green energy is really green? Can we talk about that as well? I mean, the factors that are being done, green energy comes through the atmosphere, through magnetic belts, and actually the sun, the solar energy, the sun can be also, if it's too close, it can be killing ourselves. Like, so it has some other, of course, it's another area of science, but building everywhere dams and trying to use the air to get the energy. Do you think this can actually bring the end of the world? So he's more of like, he's saying how much green energy is really green and how much can we use green energy without really impacting on nature? That's his question.
Look, actually, it depends on it depends on the demand of the load. Usually, and it depends. For example, an area depends for the an amount of load. So we just need to provide this amount of energy for this demand only. We're not gonna give an excess of energy to more than the specific area or less than a specific area. So that's all I can say for this question.
So it depends on the balance you're saying. For example, he has another question. He's saying, what if we cover the entire deserts with solar panels? How much are we actually decreasing the global warming?
How much can we decrease the global warming?
If we cover all the deserts, Gobi, all of the deserts with solar panels, are we decreasing the global warming, and how much are we supporting it, roughly?
Look, we can of course decrease the global warming by by indirect way, because if we're using those power to, and instead of using the coal power plants and those things, those plants or nuclear power plants, those are really, they have big waste on and negative waste on the nature. So if we can use those energy remotely to another places, the another remote places, of course, we're not gonna use those, for example, the coal or the nuclear. So we don't need to use them. So of course, it's gonna be good effect on the nature.
Thank you, Salah. Thank you very much for providing all this valuable information. If there are other questions, we're open for questions. If not, there are comments as well here from Sara Betül Güler. She is the coordinator and organizer team. Thanks, dear Nuran Fadlallah, Berenice Garcia Teles, and Salah Masri for their very well prepared presentations, and Dr. Yosem Salah for his amazing moderation. I would like to thank you all in behalf of the Future Science team, the global branch of Geleceğin Bilimi. Thanks for your contributions. So do you have anything you want to say as your final word? Both Salah and then Berenice and Nuran, I want to thank you all, and I want each of you to say your final words before we close this very helpful session.
All I can say, I'm honored to join you as the first time here in this Future Science Global, and I hope, inshallah, in the future I will do more and to help the community, to help anything, and to help the Future Science Global, inshallah, future. So we will see you again, inshallah, all of you. And thanks, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Salah. Thank you very much, inshallah. Berenice Garcia, I know it's still bright and early, but any final words you want to say, Berenice?
It's teşekkürler, I think, if I'm not forgotten. Thank you for your invite. Teşekkürler.
Very good Turkish.
And I second Salah's words. I hope to see you in future sessions, and have a lovely evening over there. And thank you, Sarah. It was nice to reconnect through this group. Bye.
Thank you, Berenice. We really appreciate and looking forward to joining in other programs. And Nuran, do you have any final words?
Sure, I want to thank everybody who worked on that forum. It was amazing. The 2 days were really well done. And thank you, Dr. Yavuz, for your moderation. It was very well done. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Nouran. I think Salah, Nouran, Berenice, you have done really amazing. I learned a lot personally, and it was a good time of using, also through some WhatsApp messages. I may challenge you sometimes through our group, but I want to thank each and every one of you for really contributing, and I'm really glad. I think this was one of the best sessions also within the Future Science Global Group. So we are looking forward to doing even better ones together, inshallah. And I want to thank Sara Betül Güler, Ibrahim, also Iqbal Alp Bey, as well as Zeynep Ervaşahin. Zeynep Ervaşahin, she really brought us together. She managed everything at every level, as well as all the volunteers and the attendees. Farahnaz Dekkani, Fatma Nesibe Doymuş, Ibrahim Erloev. Great questions from Ibrahim. Norhata, Sara Betül Güler, Siti, Yasmer Ebren, Şeyda Nurşen, and all the other attendees. Also everyone joining through our YouTube live channel. It was an engaging session. Wish you all a wonderful weekend and hopefully a very optimistic future, because with every challenge comes opportunity, inshallah. So we need to be hopeful and look for a better future together. Take care and all the best. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.